Hmm.
Hey Lori, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? It's so good
Good.
to see you.
You can see my daughter. Not even, you can't even fully see her. Say hi.
Oh my goodness.
She's sick, so I might have her with me the entire time. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. She's like stuffy, congested.
Oh, hi. Oh, she's so sweet. Oh, oh my, hi. Hi.
Up the that's
Oh,
the other one. The two little
hi.
ones are here. Say
Hi.
hi.
Hi. Oh, so how are you? I haven't seen you in a while.
I know it's been a while. So I started to I think you've seen on my business page. I became a doula, and so
Yeah.
we started doing some births and postpartum work. Um,
Great.
but now I was telling Coach Shaw, I was like, now I'm switching everything. I can't be physically there all the time
Yeah.
with 5 kids. It's not gonna work. So I decided to pursue more of the coaching, get certified, and then see where that takes me. But already I have a contract already signed up to teach a childbirth class,
Oh, that's great.
and to coach some clients in actually coach some parents, like lead a mom group. Really, they want men there too. So I guess it's going to be called like a parent group for the church. So what they do is they take people, there's a shelter nearby, and they give them like free services, diapers, wipes, food, and then they give them these classes that they do every week, and then they teach them like lactation support, parenting. It's weird, like there's certain things that for me I find, I guess because I've always been around babies. Delilah, you're very vocal. Trying to laugh. But like a lot of these parents, they don't know like when to like change a diaper size. Like the diaper's too small. Like maybe you need to up another diaper, or what to do like in the situation of like a baby has a cold, like what to, because they don't. A lot of them don't know the language. They're immigrants that came, that don't know English,
Yeah.
and so it's been good. I like it. I like it because okay. I like it because I feel like I'm giving back to the community, right?
Right.
But then I was telling one of my friends, I was like, I also need to make money. So let's try to get this coaching going.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You like Lori?
Yeah.
And how you been? So you're completely cancer free? Or
Sorry.
not yet? You're completely cancer free or not yet?
I get a scan literally next Tuesday.
Nice.
So
I'll
I've
be
been going.
praying for you.
Oh, thank you. Keep praying.
Yes.
Keep praying. I'm telling you. We found, so I was responding to conventional therapy. Um, it was keeping me steady. I had increased. Some of my areas got a little bit smaller. So it got me thinking that if conventional is able to do that, then maybe the natural approach to holistic can really
Yeah.
help. So we dove 2 feet first into what it was supposed to be a 10-week program, and I'm on week 20.
Wow. But I feel like that's sometimes expected when you take the holistic approach.
Mhm.
It might take a little longer, but then at the end of the day, you'll still get the best result. Like we were talking about before, I still have the issue with my ankle,
Yeah.
and I went to go do like a blood panel at this place, So we'll see what happens. They should be having my result this week sometime.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, for me, I wasn't able, like they have like a multi like modality approach, and
Yeah.
I couldn't tolerate the chemo part, so I couldn't go and do the other part. So I'm done with the chemo, and now I'm like doing all the high dose vitamin C and like all that stuff
Oh,
over.
you're taking it step by step then.
I have to because I just couldn't handle it. No, please go ahead. Yeah.
At least there's another roundabout. So the chemo the same? It's the same.
So it's a conventional chemo that but they do it at a lower dose because they
Okay.
administer it a specific way. Um and it still made me feel terrible at like 25% of what they usually give
Wow.
people. So yeah, it was pretty interesting. It's
That's
been
rough.
it's been a wild ride.
Yeah. Yes. For
So
sure.
so fingers crossed, and I'm really excited to be at the tail end of it,
Yeah, it's great to hearing that at least you got, you know, to this end of it, and then Lord
Yeah.
willing, all gone.
Yeah, I feel very blessed that I'm even able to do it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Hi, Julie. Oh, we got you on mute.
You're
I
on
can't
mute,
hear
Julie.
you. Oh, you're still on mute. There you
Yeah,
are.
yeah. I was just saying, sorry, I'm late. I did communicate, but I realized I communicated with Cheryl, so
No worries. No worries. You're here.
thank
That's
you,
all that
thank
matters.
you.
So, Julie, I don't know
Yeah.
if we've ever met before, have we?
I don't think so. I
I
don't
don't
think
think
so.
so. So, I would love to hear a little bit. So, Maria and I, we know each other. We've been catching up. She's been telling me about what she's been up to. But I would love to learn a little bit about you as to like, in what capacity are you a coach, and what does this journey look like for you?
Well, let's see. I do have my ACC credential,
Great.
and that will be coming up to renew
Mhm.
next March.
Okay.
So I am doing the emotional intelligence course with Cheryl to keep up my continuing ed, and it's something that interests me greatly. And I just got my results back. I'm sitting in my new church. I am a interim minister, and this isn't a very good view.
It's
I was
okay.
going to show, I was going to show you a little bit. I just earlier today finished up this wall, so
Oh,
that
I love
looks
that.
kind of cool.
Yeah, that looks great.
That looks nice. I was wondering. I was like, oh, you're in a different area of the house again.
I know. I know last week or the week, yeah, it was last week. I was at a friend's house, so I was there. So this week I'm in my office, and so my plan is, and let's see, your screen says Cheryl, so
Yeah.
I don't know your name.
Yeah. So I'm Lori, and I have to log in as Cheryl because Zoom is being Zoom. So
Yes.
I'm gonna be with you guys for this class Thursday. Cheryl's gonna come back and do some of the mentoring work with you, and
Mhm.
then I'm gonna come back for another 2 classes.
Okay,
Um,
great.
so we'll get to know each other. I love interacting. I love, any questions that you guys might have, anything, it's a collaborative space for me. A little bit about me too is I'm also an ACC coach. I started this journey focusing on cancer warriors and caregivers. I've now morphed into I still love those. I still love them, but I'm moving into the high performing women who are looking to reinvent themselves. So that's the group of women that I work with. I absolutely love being a coach. In a previous lifetime, I am a physician assistant in pathology oncology, which is why it was a really natural progression for me to get into the cancer coaching. And I've been an instructor at a collegiate level for about 15 years or so. It is my heart, it's my passion to just pour into you and to serve you and to support you as best as I can. So I have gone through this program as well. I was in the first cohort, so I am familiar with all the homework and all that stuff. So if there's anything that you need around that, just let me know. And today we're going to talk about this assessment that you took and what the results mean. You will have a one-on-one with Cheryl to go over your specific test results because you need to be trained and certified to do that, and Cheryl is. So she's going to give you a one-on-one to go step by step through that and what that means. But we're going to break down what the assessment is, what do each subclass mean, and we're going to get really in depth about that. But before we get into today, anybody have any questions about anything you've covered up until this point? Need
Well,
any?
I was just going to say, when I was telling you a little bit about myself,
Mhm.
that my goal is to transition from the interim ministry to coaching and guest speaking slash preaching.
Awesome.
So right now I'm coaching a church in Connecticut, individuals as well as a committee, and some individual coaching here and there, but I'm looking to expand that. And my area, as Maria's, is the wonderful birthing process is spirituality and life transitions,
Love that. Okay.
as well as wellness. So there's a big area.
Yeah, there's a lot you can do with that. So where in Connecticut are you based?
I'm not based in Connecticut. I live in Northampton, Mass, in Western Mass, but I drive down occasionally to it's church in Waterbury, Connecticut.
Okay. Yeah, I grew up in Milford.
Ah,
Yeah,
not,
and I lived in
not
Boston
far.
forever, so I'm very familiar with where you are.
Great, great. And where are you now,
I'm
Lori?
in Tampa, Florida.
Ah,
Yeah, we made our way down. And that reminds me, we are in the middle of a pretty nasty thunderstorm. So if I get disconnected, I will report back. So just to kind of give you guys a heads up. Um,
good.
okay, so Maria, do you have anything? Questions, comments, statements?
No.
Need anything? Okay, great. So today you're going to be coaching Julie. Um,
Okay, we're doing that every week, right? Because
yeah,
last week we also did. Okay,
yeah. And so Julie,
Okay.
you're going to coach Maria on Thursday.
got it.
Okay, we're just gonna swap. So it's 1:15. So you know the drill, 20 to 35 minutes, depending on how that goes for you. Um, okay, the floor is yours.
I'm coaching Julie.
You're coaching Julie.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
I wasn't aware, so okay, this is gonna be
I was unaware also, so I don't even have any clue.
Okay.
good.
All right. I'll let you guys sort that out.
All
Okay.
right, just give me 1 second
Yep, no problem.
so I can give my daughter to my oldest. Adriana, can you take Delilah for 30 minutes? Yeah. Because my mom's not here today.
Oh, okay.
So I homeschool my oldest and she's here helping me. Uh,
Sorry about that.
All right, now I'm ready for our coaching session.
Okay, perfect. Floor is yours.
Hi, Julie. How are you?
I'm excellent, Maria. How are you?
Good, good. Are you ready for today's coaching session?
No. No, I don't know why, but I didn't have any idea that this was going to happen today, but I think I might have something that would be good.
Okay. All right. I just want to remind you, this is a safe space, judgment-free space. You're free to talk about anything. If there's do you need anything to prepare for our session today?
Can't think of anything, no.
Okay. All right. So what would you like to talk about today? Remember the $1 million question.
Right. I think I'd like to talk about my memoir.
Oh, okay.
Um, I been working on a memoir for a very long time, and last year I gave it to somebody, a writing teacher and editor in New York, and she gave me some feedback that sort of threw me for a loop. So I haven't, and I'm so busy with other things, I haven't looked at it in a long time. But I really want to, I want to complete it. I want to finish it. Um, and yeah.
Okay. So if I'm hearing correctly, you want to work on how to complete the memoir, or what about completing the memoir do you want to talk about today?
I think, yeah, how to complete the memoir and what might be stopping me from, you know, my whole. I'd like to have my whole creative self as a writer be flourishing, and it's spotty. So yeah, I want to look at how to finish that memoir and be done with it. Maybe start a new one. I mean, it only goes up to like age 30, and I'm way past that. Mhm.
Okay. So what does it look like when you first started your memoir? Or what did it look like?
It just was some random topics that had to do with my early life and people and childhood experiences. And then I got the idea for a memoir. And then I had a piece that was, I called Cornbread in Heaven. And I thought, that's going to be my memoir. That's going to be the name of it. And so it just sort of morphed into this series, and it's since there were different um, essays and stories that encompassed more or less of a timeline. Some of the memoir is confusing, and that was part of the feedback, was to make it less confusing in terms of the timeline. So I had topics. I had topics like friends and driving and um, boys and different things like that. And then it would go back and forth. I'd be like, in college driving, and then I would be back at home with the Christmas tree when I was 8 years old. So there's work to be done in that area. I have to address the timeline. She wanted me to address the voice of the narrator, which was very much like a child in some places and much more mature in other places. So inconsistencies. And I'm very good at procrastinating. I'm an ace procrastinator. A plus.
Okay. All right. So we did speak about the how you wanted to complete it. Now, what about you creating this memoir is what's stopping you?
Well, as I say, I know I'm procrastinating because I have the thought that it's going to be too hard for me to address everything I'm supposed to. And I know that's not true. I mean, I know I'm capable, but that's just, a thought that comes up. And then I look around and I see all these other things that need tending to, right? It's like, well, I gotta make a phone call. I've gotta, clean the kitchen. I've got to, I don't know, like make dinner, feed the cats. It's like anything, it's like I'm throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks so that I don't have to do it. But I want to do it and I enjoy doing it. And when I imagine it, being done, I think it will be a gift to my children and maybe to others as well. I mean, I grew up in a pretty rough home environment, with domestic violence and alcohol abuse and, all this stuff. And, I think it might give some people hope.
When you first thought about doing this memoir, what were your reasons for making it?
I started it in a writing class that I've been in, for a very long time. And, um, my mom and I used to say, like, we could write a book. We could write a book, and I think my mom is somebody who was just a very, very good and very religious person that just, she got off track for many years and then she got herself back on track. and I guess in a way, I did the same thing. So to honor my mom and to give something to my children also. That's motivating.
So your motivations is honoring your mother and giving something to your children. Did I hear that right?
Hmm.
What do you feel? What do you think when the memoir is done and finished? How do you feel about it?
I feel very moved to have completed it and grateful that I didn't just abandon it, on my computer or in a drawer somewhere, that I took the time. I mean, right now the memoir ends when my husband proposes to me. And like, I really do have a part two because I've been married. It'll be 38 years
Wow,
in
great.
October, so it's there's a whole, I mean, much less drama in the time since he proposed and now than there was. And I have pretty much a photographic memory of my childhood. I mean, I remember things kind of amazingly. So I feel grateful. I feel grateful. I feel moved. Um, there's other things I want to write. I want to write about ministry, about the joy and the heartbreak of leading a church and stepping up there every week. It's a challenge. It is wonderful, and I've had my heart broken a lot. Yeah,
Mhm.
like Christians.
Yeah. Hmm. Okay. Um,
And poetry. I want to write, I probably have enough poetry for a book, but poems, they need to be worked on. And so I feel like the memoir is standing in the way. It's like that's pressing.
is there any time in your schedule where the memoir can be worked into?
5 to 6 a.m. I mean, I hear people, I just started at this church. I've already heard like two people say they get up 4:35 in the morning. I get up at 5:30. So it occurs to me like, maybe God's trying to tell me something. Like push yourself a little bit, get up 10 to 5, go get some coffee, sit at your computer, write for an hour a day, and then go exercise for an hour. I think I'd be so tired by 12 o'clock. I wouldn't be able to like move.
Is that a feasible solution for your day to day?
Nothing like every day. I don't think I could do it every day. I might be able to do it, I mean, I wouldn't have to do it at 5 a.m. on Saturdays or even Fridays. I could do it Friday and Saturday at, 6 a.m. and then go exercise. Maybe one day a week I could do it at 5.
Okay.
But I think that I would like to try to do it first thing because when I roll out of bed and I start to do the things that I typically do, it just gets pushed aside and pushed aside, and then I go to bed, and every day I say, another day. I didn't work on the memoir. And my husband and I, we have this thing we say to each other, we'll say, I'm sick of my bullshit. And I am. I'm just sick of it.
What specifically are you sick of?
I'm sick of not doing it day after day and thinking about it and having people ask me about it. How's the memoir? It's like, it's crazy.
How does it feel starting this memoir again with the timeline that you gave me? So like, let's say Friday, Saturday, 6 a.m. that you had said, and then once a week at 5 a.m. How does that feel for you?
It sounds like really, really exciting. If I would just do it, I don't have that much faith in myself. I hate to say it, but just in being able to like follow through. Um, I don't know what that's about, unless it's just, not honoring myself.
What would stop you from following through?
Nobody but me. Excuses. I'm tired. It's cold out there, out from under the covers. Oh God. You see, I'm just a jerk.
No, no. You okay, so you would stop yourself. Would there be anyone that could probably help you or hold you
I
accountable for
mean,
this?
if I told my husband, I want you to just like kick me out of bed. I just want you to just take your feet and just gently, gently push me until I get out of bed. Because we wake up, and sometimes I even wake up by 5 o'clock. It's not like I'm so sleepy. I stay in bed, we cuddle, read the email, read my devotions, read him something. Oh, you got to listen to this, right? And then by like this morning, though, this was my first. Well, yesterday was my first day, but today was me putting my schedule into practice. I got up and I was out the door for my run by 6:15. So that was good. I can do it. I can get up. And, if I say to him once a week and Friday and Saturday, I'm going to get up early, early and just go to it. Bang, bang, bang. I'll do it, Maria. I'll do it for you.
Thank you. What what thoughts can you change to motivate you in the morning?
Well, I just had the thought, like, I haven't been in touch with that person from New York, that editor person, and I could say, I'm going to have it to you to read again by a certain date.
Okay.
I could do that.
So like a timestamp, right? Like a finished timestamp, is that
I
correct?
like that. Yeah, timestamp.
So we got a how with the timeline that you've set up. Now we got to work on the what's stopping you, which was the second part that you wanted to talk about in regards to the memoir. And we did talk about having your husband accountable with giving you literally and figuratively a push in the mornings. What would be the mindset before you even get up and get off the bed and pushed off the bed?
I can and I will.
Is there anything that can change that thought or mindset?
I don't want to.
And so when that happens, how are you able to change it back?
I say to myself, thank you for sharing. Now get in there.
Okay, good. Okay. When you first started this memoir, what was your reason, your number one top reason for wanting this to be read and typed out and read?
When it first came to my mind to be a memoir, um, my first thought was, my life is worth writing.
What about your life is worth writing?
Well, I'm the first person in my family to go to college. Um, I grew up in a situation where the expected thing for everybody to do was to get a job as a teacher or a secretary or a nurse, get married, and have kids, have some like grandkids by the time you're 35. Like, no kidding.
Well,
That's not that unusual in the Ozark Mountains, which is where I grew up.
okay.
So that was never a life goal for me. I wanted to see the world. I wanted to be educated. I mean, I used to want to be an actress, and that didn't that didn't come to pass because I didn't want to go audition. And I didn't want the life. I had a religious upbringing, even though there were all these problems. Um, my grandmother and my mother instilled in me a lot of Christian values and a lot of the things that I thought were part of an actress life, which didn't have to be that way, but I was just like, ew, I don't want to. Um, so, I pressed through that. I pressed through that. I got a degree. I got my heart broken like 100 times. Like, I don't even think that's an exaggeration. And I had a lot of mental problems. I was hospitalized 2 times. Uh, I was married and divorced, when I was 20 and 21 to an alcoholic. My my stepfather, I mean, there was like all of this stuff, and I just kept going and going and going. Went to the ministry, and I finally got a great guy. We went to Yale. He was like an amazing person who made me laugh all the time, still does. And I make him laugh all the time. So there's like stuff worth writing there.
Okay, and what about all of your experiences, your life experience, motivated you to write this or to start writing this? Because we're trying to get you to finish.
Yeah, well, in college, obviously, college is about like writing papers, even more than it's about going to class.
Mhm.
So I discovered I was actually a pretty good writer. And then I had my people that I knew would ask me to look at stuff and to edit them, like tell me, and I would do that. So my life experience as a writer led me to believe I can do something. I can actually write like create a format, a totally realized storytelling of this difficult life that has turned out pretty great.
Yeah, yeah. What is your, I figure out how to word this. What is your ideal audience for your memoir?
You mean besides the people I know? Probably just everybody I know. Um,
Okay, that's fine too. If that's, you want to keep it with just your family members and
I
friends.
mean, I'd love to have the people that in my church, I would love to share that with them. It's my second book, by the way. I do have another book that I did a number of years ago. It was from essays that I wrote for the Dayton Daily News when I lived there. And it's called Stepping Onto the Invisible Bridge, Stories for Every Season of Your Faith Journey.
Oh, nice.
So it's a beautiful book. I mean, I'm proud of that book. I actually need to like update that book and get a bunch of copies because that's another way. I'm not very good self-promoter. I get scattered.
Okay. Okay, so good. Good. We're almost at the tail end of our session. Um, I know in the beginning, it's the memoir, how to do it, and what's stopping you. I know we definitely set up, we spoke about a time frame, Friday, Saturday, and then another day during that week.
Mhm.
Um, having yourself accountable and your husband accountable for you as well to push you and motivate you. We did speak about some points of what could be stopping you: being scattered, too many things at once, and focusing. Is there, we also talked about actually putting a time frame. You spoke of the idea of calling the editor, right, in New York.
Yeah, telling her I'm going to have another draft ready for her. And I'm just looking at my calendar. 1, 2, I think I can do this by August 14th.
Okay. Now, how do you feel about all the session today? Everything we've spoken about?
No, I feel good about it because I really appreciate having the space to get in touch with why I want to do this. I think it was very valuable for me to look and see what motivated it, why I wanted to do it, and why I want to complete it. And I'm gonna write that date down, Maria.
Good. Well, I'm glad you got what you wanted out of the session.
Me too. Thank you.
Julie, I am getting to know you so much more from these sessions. I like it.
I know, right? I know.
And I'm in New York, so you're not far from me, too far at least.
We're in New York.
I'm in Westchester. I'm in New Rochelle.
Oh, very familiar. I used to live in, do you know where Nyack is?
Yes.
Yeah, I lived not far from Nyack. You don't know where it is, I'm sure, but it was Bardonia.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm not familiar, but
Yeah, nice.
you got the East Coast girls here.
Right, that's right. The East Coast girls.
All right. Maria, how was that for you?
It was definitely better than the last time. It's been so long I've coached. So it definitely was better than the last time. I thought I could have asked a little bit more questions. Um, but I did want her to kind of talk it out and see what more of like what's stopping her, because I couldn't really ask certain questions to kind of pull it out of her. I think if I would have asked better questions, maybe I could have gotten her there quicker, but it was okay.
And so what is something you're really proud of?
I'm proud that I got her into thinking about the memoir and what brought her to it. And then at the end, just having her say, okay, I'm going to get it done by this date, because she had been procrastinating it for so long.
Okay. And then you said that you would ask more questions. What was one of the questions you wanted to ask that you were stopping yourself?
Like I wanted to specifically wanted a better way to say like what was her why, like what's her more of a motivation, like her reasoning, like her gut. I guess I could have said that, like what's your gut reasoning for starting this, what's your number one motivation that way. And I kind of in my head was trying to go around it and I didn't know how to specifically say it.
Yeah.
I,
So I actually thought that you kept going back to her why. You did
Okay.
it multiple times throughout the session. You asked her, what was your reasons for making it? What was your number one reason for wanting this to be typed up? Right? Like you kept going back to her why. So you definitely accomplished that, even though you're left feeling that you didn't. And I see Julie shaking her head. Yes. Julie, are you in agreement? Yeah. And so what I thought you did really well was you kept going back to that, right? You kept going back to what is her purpose? What is the reason behind it? Even though you think that you didn't. So you definitely covered competency 3.3, like the importance and the meaning behind what she's trying to accomplish. I also felt that you went back and asked her like specific questions about things that she was saying. So like, I don't want to, my life is worth writing. Like you got her to talk more about that. One of the areas that I thought was a little bit of a missed opportunity, and if you go back and listen to it, earlier on in the conversation, there was a statement of, I'm not honoring myself.
Yes.
Right. And I think that if that would have been explored a little bit, that sense of you trying to get to her why would have been opened up a little bit for you, right?
Mhm.
And but overall, I thought you did a really great job at coaching the person, right? Like, so competency 5.1, you definitely stuck to the agenda. So 5.2, you kept going back to why it's important for her. 5.5, you gave a lot of great silence and pauses. You never interrupted her, which is also a competency that's there. And then one of the things that I liked that you asked is you really started to explore options around time, right? You were trying to tease that out. So you definitely tried to expand on the topic and on the outcome, which are competencies, 7.3 and 7.4. And then I love the fact that you threw in the accountability there, even early on in, competency 8.7, where you're like, who can help you? Who can
Yeah.
help you not get stopped, right? Um, the other thing that I want to explore with you is the coaching agreement. So I know that you well, let me ask you, do you feel that you nailed your coaching agreement?
No, I do have to work on the coaching agreement. It is something that I have to work on.
Yeah.
Something that I think I need to even like practice at this point. Just coaching agreements. Like I need to just practice that. To kind of solidify it more. But yeah, I do think that I need it was definitely better than the last time, but yeah, I need to get that.
So one of the things I'm going to add for you to look at is when you get that coaching agreement, remember to recite it back and get their confirmation on it. So
Okay.
like, what do you want to focus on today's session? What specifically do you want to walk away with, which are like the two key things? And then what I hear you saying you want to talk about is blank, and what you want to have at the end of the session is blank. Is that correct? Right. And
Okay.
if you add that to it, you will nail your coaching agreement.
Okay.
Because I'm, as somebody listening, and like y'all, you could tell that y'all are really familiar with each other, right? So it's like a lot of unspoken going on here, because ultimately it's just you two every week, right?
Yeah.
But that was something that I was waiting to listen. I was waiting for you to say. And even though you came back and you're like, okay, so tell me why this is important to you, and you kept going back to the importance of it, I feel if you added that small little tweak into this session, it would have supported you in being able to really just get off the ground running. So how do you feel about this feedback?
Good. I feel good about the feedback. Yeah.
And I think, especially because you're saying you haven't coached in a while, I think you did really great. So
Thanks.
um, now I'd like to hear from Julie. Julie, what was your biggest um, takeaway from this session?
That well, I felt validated by Maria's interacting with me, and that I chose it as a topic for coaching solidified its importance to me. So I came away with, I really did come away with, I can and I will do this.
Yeah, great, great. And so is there anything that came up for you that you weren't expecting?
She, Maria, got me to talk about the actual substance of the book, which I didn't think I would do. I didn't think we would go there. I think there was a question like, what about your life makes it worth writing, or something like that. And I was touched by her asking that, it seemed like, you know, like she cared enough to want to know some of the nuts and bolts about it.
Yeah.
And then I began to talk about it, and uh, I guess sort of reaffirmed, like, yeah, this is worth it. This is worth getting down on paper and saying, read this.
Yeah, I love that. And would there have been a question that you would have liked to have been asked in hindsight?
I don't think so. I don't, nothing is popping up.
And then Maria, is there anything else that now that you've had some time to think about it that you wish you would have asked?
No, not other than what I had expressed before, but apparently I did ask it multiple
You
times.
did. You did. And the only question that I've asked around is what I've already mentioned, is that honoring, right? The not honoring myself by not moving forward with it. Okay. Any comments, questions, statements around this coaching call? Anything that you guys want to bring up? Anything that you need? Anything about the feedback?
No, I thought it was great feedback from you, Lori, and I just want to highlight Maria's warmth and caring that comes across, that coaches the whole person, which I know I don't know the numbers like you do, but you know, coaching the whole person is very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I do feel like she accomplished that. And something else I was going to say. Yeah, I really wanted you to nail that coaching agreement. Like inside my head, I was going like, and what would I take away? But I wasn't going to step outside of my role to say that. I guess I could have said, I wonder what I would take away.
Then I was like, ah. I you know, it's I need to start listening to more coaching sessions in the beginning. I don't listen to coaching sessions is not other than the ones that are in the classroom and the training that I had, 2017, 2018, right? Like, and then I stopped coaching in like 2021. So it's been that long,
Yeah.
right? So, and things have changed also since then. But I think I do need to like just hear. So every maybe like a few coaching sessions in the beginning, just so I can in my head solidify that a little bit more.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think to your point, um, a lot of the other programs, you know, are different in the fact that they don't go as deep as this one does.
right.
So it's not even something that is it's not like there's something wrong with you and that's because you haven't coached in a while. It's actually that this format actually you know, is a demand for you to go even deeper. Right. So the other thing too that I found,
I'll be right back.
okay, the other thing too that I found is super helpful for me too, Maria, is I have a cheat sheet of questions
Okay.
that I created. And so what it was easy for me to go and riddle off the coaching framework because I literally have it on my desktop at all times.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, to have it because I know when I was in WCI, I did have a sheet where I kind of jotted down a couple of questions, um, like my go-to questions to ask, like if I needed something.
Yep.
And I think I need to do that too this time around. And then like an outline. I'm like I work on like outlines too sometimes. So yeah, it's been I'm learning though. I'm
Yeah,
open to
good.
learning. I'm being flexible. So at
Yeah,
least
no,
I'm proud of that much.
you're doing great, like totally great. So I took the framework that is in the in UpCoach. And I literally, you know how it has it like this is competency, 3.1, and this is the question that goes with it. I
Right.
kind of took out the key questions and I made a cheat sheet so I wouldn't forget. So that might help. And I'm
Yeah.
happy to share that if that's something you'd want.
Yes.
Okay, so strong work. Good job, guys. Why don't we take a quick little break before we just dive in? Today, we're going to talk about the EQ assessments and get really in depth as to what that assessment shows. And then I'll show you an example of that. So why don't we take a quick 15 and then we'll come back at 17 after, and we'll just jump right in. How's that sound?
Yep,
Okay.
sounds
Okay,
good.
see you guys in.
Thanks.
Welcome back.
Hello.
Mhm. All right. Okay. Let's get the rest of this session completed as I just hit my knee. Oh,
That's not fun.
not fun at all. Okay. All right. So, everybody in a good place? Good spot?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, we're going to talk about the EQI 2.0 assessment. So, have you guys taken that already and sent your?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
I've
So,
gone through my results quickly.
yeah, so you're going to have a one-on-one with Cheryl to go in depth as to what those results mean and what that looks like. So just kind of be mindful of that. So there is going to be two versions of that document. There's the participant, the client version, and then Cheryl's going to get a more in-depth version that she's going to go through with you guys, okay? So what we're going to do today is take a look at what that assessment is, and we're going to talk about breaking down what the score means, the scale, and then the subscale of each of those that's included in the assessment. So one of the things that I want you guys to be mindful of when you think about this assessment, unlike regular intelligence, right? Like, so you're born with X capacity and you can educate yourself on a lot of stuff. Ultimately, that number of how you were born is going to stay somewhat in that realm, right? Like you could improve it a little bit. The cool thing about the emotional intelligence scoring is that even if you're at a low, say you're at like a 50, you can really, through development and training, you could really move that score higher. So regardless of where you scored, this is something that's actually able to be taught in a way that you can improve your score. Does that make sense? So regardless of where you are in that, if you're on the lower side or the higher side, just be mindful that it's totally okay and that you can always increase it, right? And why do we want to increase it? What do you guys think it means to have a high emotional intelligence in regards to coaching? What do you think that provides you?
Guess that would mean a better understanding of the person as a whole, motivation, feels, wants, passions, anger, like kind of like getting like the little voice in their head, I guess.
Yeah. So you can understand where your client is. You can empathize with them, right? You can also you can relate to them. You can relate to what they're saying. You could actually have more compassion because you could put yourself in their shoes, right? And so having a high EQ has a direct correlation with how good of a coach you are. And I'm going to show you why that is today. So, so we're going to talk about everything that's in your report, how you scored, right? Like not you specifically, but when you sit with Cheryl and she's going to give you those results, you're going to see also how you can improve your EQ, right? So when we have this conversation, there's two components to coaching. There's going to be this emotional side that's going to be in direct correlation with your EQ, but also there's the technical side of coaching. So there's going through the motions, there's hitting all the steps in the format, right? And we can methodically go through the technical component of that, and you could be a really good coach. The one thing that we want to do here is also add that emotional intelligence side. That way you're an awesome coach, right? Like you have that much more that you're able to give your client. So ultimately, I want you guys to think about this emotional intelligence is providing you flexibility, right? As a coach, if you're so, have you ever met somebody who's like so rigid in their way of being that anytime you throw something in there, it like just stops them in their tracks? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Right? They're just so like focused and so like, no, I do it this way all the time. Well, that's what I want you guys to think about, right? Because just like how we have our emotions on something, right? Like one of the things that I like to say is when you're in the middle of a coaching session with a client and you get confronted, right? You start going in your head and you start thinking about yourself. For me, that's an area of growth. That's how I like to look at it. It's like, oh, I haven't healed that yet. Got it, right? And then I make a little note to remind myself. And then I just try to keep getting present, getting present, getting present. It's that emotional intelligence that will, one, have me have that realization that like, oh, I'm making this about me right now, but also will provide me the flexibility to be like, this isn't about me. I need to let that go. Think about that later. Let me stay focused. Let me stay focused. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So when I mean flexibility, I mean that the less flexible people tend to be, the less flexible with your client you are, the more you're going to have a difficult time creating that client to coach relationship, a difficult time to connect with your clients. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and we're going to get into this today. And I love this conversation. And if there's, oh, I can't, hold on, I can't find my share screen. Okay. We want this. Okay. So we're going to go through this today. So what we're talking about here is using EQ for coaching mastery, right? It's how to master your coaching skills. And what we really want to do is leverage our assessments to see where we're really good and to also see where we need to do a little bit of work. So can you guys see this page? Okay. It's okay. Okay. So the assessment itself that you took, so there's multiple different ones out there. The reason why Cheryl chose this one is that this one is scientifically validated. And it's a really powerful tool that gives you feedback that's really crucial for us, especially from a coaching standpoint. So like I said, you're going to get a client report for yourself. Don't do what I did. Make sure to download it. I forgot to download mine and now I can't access it, right? But Cheryl's going to get a coaching copy that is going to go more in depth into the insights, and she'll be able to show you areas where you're strong, areas where you're not so strong. And that way you can create a plan to develop your emotional intelligence. So I'm going to show you what that report looks like on her end when we get through all of this. So ultimately, the coach report is going to measure your level of emotional intelligence, your social skills, right? And it's also, I want you to think about how we perceive things, how we express ourselves. So when you take social skills, emotional skills, perception, expression, ultimately, those are all part of communication, right? So ultimately, it's how do you maintain your relationships? How do you cope with challenges, right, in your life? These all can be viewed on this assessment, which is what makes it so amazing. So we want to recognize our strengths as coaches. And we also want to recognize the areas that we need to develop further, because it will directly tie into our clients. The more insight we have for ourselves, the deeper insight we'll have into our clients, right? So our coach-client relationship and the progress that's happening within the coaching session can literally be transformed through you having a really high EQ, okay? So it's really a high EQ is critical in having an effective coaching practice, right? It helps us again, connect with our clients, facilitate their self-awareness, managing their emotions, right? When they start to break down and cry, like we don't do the same, right? That we're able to support them in how they're feeling without making it about us and making it personal. Because the second you start to break down and you do that, then you're involved in it. And that focus that's on them starts to become on you, right? So we want them, well, ultimately, we want to show our empathy, our sympathy, our understanding, right? And that we have a really good feeling for what our clients are struggling with, what their goals are, how they cope with things, right? What makes them happy. And we want to help them with that. And we can do that by us really stepping into this emotional intelligence that we have developed for ourselves and really being able to be compassionate and like empathize with them. So the way that this emotional intelligence assessment is broken down is with scales and subscales. And we're going to talk about that today. And ultimately what they do is a combination of all of this score is going to show you your happiness score, meaning how happy are you? How fulfilled are you? How joyful are you in your life, right? So the first page of it that I'm showing you is showing how emotional intelligence influences every part of the coaching process, from building that rapport, the first, like, how are you today, right? To facilitating growth and everything in between. It empowers us to really actively listen and to really be present. So we're helping them grow, we're helping them make plans, we're removing their obstacles, we're picking up on their energy shifts, right? How are they initially? Does that energy level change at all in our sessions? And we pick up on their emotions. And again, like I said, it helps us regulate our emotions because it's really important for us to regulate our emotions with our clients. Because when the situations arises, when they're feeling bad and we feel bad for them, we sometimes might get emotional, and we want to make sure that we stay neutral for them, that we are that strong pillar for them to be able to pour into whatever it is that they're dealing with, but we don't ultimately make it about ourselves. And so our ability to regulate our emotions and being able to still empathize with them is really crucial to us maintaining that really good client coach relationship. So the report itself, when you take that assessment, it will allow you to go through and see which areas you're really strong in, which areas you need to improve upon, and how it connects to the core competencies and the ethical guidelines. So the way that it's worded is specific to make sure that it connects with the core competency it's associated with. So the first part of this is going to be this understanding EQ results in like the assessment in the coaching, right? So actually it's going to be, we went through all of that. It's going to be this one here, this results coaching development. So when we talk about high scores and like empathy, right? Sometimes it's a natural ability that some of us have, and sometimes that's something that we need to develop. It's an area of growth that we need. So sometimes that could be assertiveness, right? There's going to be you're not going to score high on all competencies. I mean, on all scales and subscales. It's actually designed for you not to do that, because what we're ultimately looking for is a balance. And that's what this assessment is going to show you, right? So the higher the score that you have, the more balanced you are in this process, right? So there's going to be 5 different basic EQ skills, and that's what these are right here. So the first one is going to be self-perception, and it's just basically understanding and expressing our emotions through self-awareness, right? So again, it's crucial for us as coaches to maintain our own bias and our own objectivity. The second one is going to be self-expression, right? So as coaches, we have a high capacity for self-expression, and we can model effective communication for our clients. And this is essential for us to build trust and openness. Have you ever had a relationship where somebody, their self-expression, they don't know how to express emotions?
Of course.
Right? And it's one of those things of, have you then found yourself being the person that maintains composure and are able to coach them through it, even though they're not a client, right? Like, I'm thinking about somebody in my personal life, right? I mean, this is a safe space. I will tell you, like, my mom right now, right? My mom lost her husband after 60 something years. And right now she is in the midst of grieving that she cannot express her emotions. So when she expresses her emotions, most of the time it comes in the form of her yelling at me, because she's so confronted and just, I say she's like a caged lion, right? She doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know if she's coming or going or what, right? And I found myself having to be that person to express what she's trying to say to me without getting triggered. And y'all, this is really hard, especially when it's your mama, right? Like, it is hard. And I'm literally sitting here and I'm like, okay, I have to be this for her, because otherwise we're not going to get past it. We're just going to get in a fight. We're going to bicker back and forth. She's going to get mad at me, not talk to me, and we're going to get nowhere. Right? So when we think about self-expression and us really being the model for that with our clients, and for like, this is also true for people in your life, your personal relationships, right? This is all of that. But also then when you talk about the interpersonal relationship, right, you're able to gauge the ability to develop and maintain those strong relationships, and how you could create a supportive environment for people in your life, your coaching clients or your people, right? Like, imagine if I just went around and I'm just like, every time just antagonized her more. Right? It would be awful. It'd be absolutely awful. And to just let you know, we're neighbors, right? Like, she literally lives a 2-minute walk from me now, right? So also the thing that comes up for this EQ is like decision making, like in the moment, especially with your clients. Like, what question are you going to ask? Like, where am I going to go? My intuition is bringing me here. My brain is bringing me here. Like, which do I choose right now? Right? So it's having that emotional information and effectively making decisions in the moment, especially in a coaching session, about emotions and the client goals. Right? So it allows us to ask the next question based on what we've heard the client say, and also what we see them expressing, but it's also having a balanced reaction to make a solid decision that's going to help them take that next step in the plan, right? And then also stress management is a part of this. So the ability to remain calm and resilient under pressure. And I'm laughing because you're going to have 2 types of different people. You're going to have the people that are going to be like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then you're going to have the people that show no emotion. And it's going to be situation dependent, right? And my laugh comes from, right, there was a time when I was in a closet in the middle of a tornado. It was me, my husband, and I was holding my dog. And I was oh my God, what are we doing? Where do we go? Where do we, right? Like, I'm the one asking all these questions. And literally the only thing that came out of his mouth, which wasn't very reassuring, was, I don't think we're going to make it. Right? And I looked at him and I'm like, in this moment, that's the worst thing you're going to say to me. You're not recognizing my emotions right now. Right? So we have those moments too in our coaching sessions where we might get activated, our client might get activated, and we need to really manage that for ourselves and for them. And we do this by looking at these 5 composite skills, and there's also 15 sub skills or sub scales, I should say. So 5 composite scales and 15 sub scales that we're going to really deep dive into. But before I do any of that, anybody have any questions? And this is going to be like a lot of information. I'm going to try to keep it as simple as I can, but it's really crucial to get this piece because the rest of this class is going to be based on this session today and these scales. So anybody have any questions? And am I talking too fast? Am I okay?
I think you're fine.
Okay, good. Sometimes people tell me I talk a little fast. All right. So what we're going to look at now is this, how to incorporate this EQ for coaching excellence. So the result of the assessment show how we are as a coach, right? So we can identify specific areas that will enhance our coaching, and we can align them specifically with our core competencies. So when you look at developing active listening, that's core competency 6. And we can do that by leveraging a high emotional self-awareness and really tune in to our client's communication. There's also facilitating client growth. That's core competency 8. So that's when we can draw on the strengths like in empathy and interpersonal relationships to foster that safe space for exploration and to create action steps, right? There's also going to be managing progress and accountability. So we saw Maria do that really great today, that she threw that accountability right in the middle of the call, right? And that is core competency 11, right? And so that is using decision-making and problem-solving skills to get to an awareness to make progress on goals. And then there's also upholding professional standards, meaning, and this is our first core competency that you've ever were introduced to. And ultimately, that is ensuring our level of independence and self-regard is balanced with social responsibility and empathy. So again, we're not overstepping our boundaries. We're not spilling into the client, right? We're maintaining that ethical conduct at all times. So these are the main ones. And there are a lot of other connections of the core competencies as well. You're going to see, we're going to go into that a little bit. But these are ones that are directly related to coaching. So you took the assessment and your score is going to show, you know, how you are with your emotional intelligence. And again, the higher the emotional intelligence you have, the more balanced your life is. And ultimately, that shows that you're happier, right? So people with a lower score ultimately don't have that balance that will have them have a lot of, I just went blank on the word. I had another word for happy, but now I can't. Fulfillment, right? So this is good news, right? The areas that we could see that we can improve upon, we could also show this for our clients as well, right? So all right, so when we talk about lower scores and higher scores, right? You're gonna see we're gonna dive into that. And what do they mean and how do we apply them to coaching? So we want to be able to understand and interpret the scores to enhance our ability to engage with our clients and to be better aligned with our core competencies. So when you look at the one over here, the self-perception composite and coaching presence, right? A lower score on self-perception indicates a coach's need to develop a deeper connection with their own emotions. Because the more you're connected with your own emotions, the more attentive you are of a person, the more you're present, the more you are in tune with your client. Okay. So the higher score means that we're in tune with our emotions and we provide a strong foundation for our coaching presence. And the coaching application with this means a coach with a strong self-regard and emotional self-awareness can model emotional literacy for their client, meaning that you're able to pick up your gut and your intuition, and you will help your clients get deeper, and they'll have a greater understanding of themselves by asking questions that are going to allow them to go deeper. And then when you look at the other one here is a self-expression and composite, right? So a lower score in this one means a coach might struggle with expressing thoughts and managing emotions, right? And how you express your emotions. So you could ultimately impact your client-coach relationship, right? So we don't want that to happen. We don't want what we're dealing with in our personal lives to go into, if a client brings up something that's similar, we don't want to express it in any negative way. We don't want to impart any negativity, make anything that's going to have them ultimately feel unsafe because they got a reaction, right? So we want to make sure that we're really careful about how we express ourselves and our emotions, right? So a higher score in this realm means that we're able to communicate effectively and openly, and that we can challenge our clients in a way that is positive, right? And we can also help inspire our clients because we can articulate our thoughts and our feelings, and that we have a handle on it. And so then they could start mirroring us. So like that example with my mom, right? It's really one of those things that she's then able to have this safe space where she could tell me, like, this is how she's feeling, because I'm creating that for her. And by me using my words to show my emotions, it's then helping her do the same. So then when we look at interpersonal composite and creating trust, right? Lower scores will highlight areas for development and social responsibility and interpersonal relationships. Meaning, again, that's creating trust and safety, and trust and intimacy with our clients, right? We want to make sure that our clients know that they can trust us, that they're going to make their own decision, and that they know what's best for themselves. And we can ultimately influence that and influence it in a positive way. So having a higher score here is ultimately helping them, challenge them and have them be challenged in a way that they feel supported, right? And then when we look at there it is, decision making and cultivating client autonomy. A lower score here is going to indicate the challenge in using emotional information effectively. So that could hinder us supporting our client. So when we get emotional information from our client and they talk about their feelings and how they're feeling about something and how it's affecting them and what their reactions are to it, if we struggle with that ourselves, it's going to be really hard for us to help our client and have them move forward in those areas. So we want to support them in a way that helps them make their client decision, and that helps them make decisions that are ultimately best for them. And so the thing to think about here is energy. What energy are we conveying? What energy are they conveying? And how do we have our energy resonate so we're creating this safe space for them, right? So a higher score in this area is going to indicate emotional insights into the decision-making process, that we're able to incorporate those emotional insights in that decision-making. And ultimately, we will be able to help the client better through that. So the coaching application here is leveraging the emotional information and decision-making to support our clients in setting realistic goals and actionable steps. And also having the objectivity that helps us encourage our clients and challenge them when necessary. The next one would be the stress management. And stress management here implies there's difficulty coping with stress that could potentially affect the coach's resilience and ability to maintain composure under pressure, right? A higher score is going to mean that you have the capacity for stress tolerance, and that you're flexible, and that you're essentially managing the emotional tone of the coaching session and staying resourceful in the face of climate challenges. So ultimately, what you think about with this one, the stress management, like your composure, right, is ultimately your presence. So presence is ultimately what you're going to want to do here, is ultimately what you're going to have here, the higher you're able to manage that stress. Also here, the coaching application here for coaches is that with robust stress management skills, we can model coping strategies and aligning and embodying a coaching mindset and having an optimistic outlook and being adaptable. And ultimately, this will inspire hope and resilience, and our clients promoting a forward perspective, like looking forward. So we want to make sure that we create this supportive environment, right? So then the good news about all of this is that those are the top 5. And then through each of them, there's subscales within them, right? So when we talk about subscales, the first one is self-regard. Well, before I even do that, the subscales underneath of these higher level, higher scale, like skills, they will play toward elevating those higher skills, meaning there can be specific areas that you might need to work on. And you're going to be strong in some areas, not so strong in some others, and they will balance. So you'll see as you go through your assessment, you're going to have a lower score in some of these subscales, and that's intentional. You're not meant to have a high score in all of them because it's creating that balance, okay? And Cheryl's going to be able to show that to you for you specifically on your report. So one of the subscales is self-regard and coaching competence, right? So a lower score here may suggest that you need to raise your standard of self-worth, let's say, or how competent you feel, so you can provide that safe presence for your clients. So an example would be if you don't feel so confident in your coaching, you may be a little bit timid to ask that question that you want to ask, but you're not sure. You're doing that dance of should I, shouldn't I, shouldn't I, right? And ultimately, what we want to do is have you recognize, like, no, I'm a really competent coach and I'm confident in how I feel. Like, I'm going to ask them this bold question, right? So when we talk about the higher skill here, you're really sitting in a foundation of self-respect and empowerment that you're going to lead by example and inspire your client to do the same. So the coaching application here is using a strong self of self to encourage them to really move forward in their journey, right? We want them to also self-actualize here and become goal-oriented. So if you get a lower score in this area, your client or yourself can really benefit from focusing on personal growth and long-term aspirations, right? If you get a higher score, that just means that you're in pursuit of personal and professional development. It means that we're doing what we need to do in order to increase our skills and also increase that positive mindset, right? That we're ultimately living a life that we're able to be an aspiration for our clients, right? Like that we're walking the walk, we're talking the talk, right? It's not just something that we say that's for them and we're not taking it on ourselves. So the coaching application here is really leveraging the relationship that can help clients support, coaches support their clients and have them really keep chipping away at their goals and move forward, right? The next one is going to be emotional self-awareness and relative practices. So if you have a lower score, you need to deepen your understanding of their own empathy and understanding. A higher score here suggests that we're really good at being aware of our emotional experiences and that we have insight on, and this insight will allow us to be more empathetic for people. And the coaching application here means that we can apply our emotional self-awareness so we could tune in more closely to our clients' feelings, that we can help them in effective communication and alignment, right? Which is core competency 6. So when you also then take a look at emotional expression and authentic communication, a lower score may indicate that a coach has difficulty expressing their emotions constructively, which could stop or hinder an open dialogue, right? But if you have a high score here, you're really adept, like you can really express your emotions and you can facilitate a transparent and honest coaching relationship, right? And the coaching application here is going to be encouraging your clients in creating a trusting environment that will establish and maintain the coaching agreements, right? And then if you have assertiveness and empowering dialogue, a low score here is going to, you need to develop your ability to communicate your beliefs and feeling assertive, right? Your tendency may be to shy away about talking about things or expressing things like your thoughts and your emotions. If you have a high score here, you'll be able to reflect and state your perceptions, your perspectives, your goals, your wants, your needs in life and in coaching, right? So and that's crucial for maintaining clear and respectful boundaries. And that boundaries for ourselves, for our people in our life, for our clients as well, right? So this will provide a balanced approach for us coaching, um, the balanced approach will create this assertiveness that will allow us to empower our clients to speak up for themselves. And again, this reinforces competency 7, evoking awareness. The next one is going to be independence and coaching autonomy. So a low score here will suggest could suggest potential over reliance on others, right? So think about what's the word I'm looking for? Codependency, right? So somebody may not be able to be self-reliant. They may always need to look outwards to get some support. A higher score here means that we can be self-sufficient, right? And the coaching application here is for, as a coach, will be independence in coaching. So that means that the client's self-determination with whatever decision they want to make, they'll be able to help lead themselves to that. And we will help guide them. And, you know, we don't lead, but we'll guide them through that so they can get the answers for themselves. And this goes along with competency 5, which is cultivating trust and safety. We're almost done. I promise. We're going to get to this report. Okay. The next one is interpersonal relationships and connection building. So if you have a low score, just like it says, you're going to have a really difficult time connecting with your clients because you have a hard time with interpersonal relationships. So if you struggle with interpersonal relationships in your personal life, you're going to most likely continue to struggle with your clients. And ultimately, coaching is just about connection. So this one is really important. We need to be able to connect with our clients in order for them to really trust us and for them to go ahead and create with us. And a high score here means that you're able to connect. You're able to gain, you know, you're able to support your client, connect with your client, create a supportive environment. And, you know, this goes hand in hand with us being able to be mindful in our coaching. The next is going to be empathy and compassion. So if you have a low score here, you're going to need to develop a greater understanding of your client's feelings and also how to share these feelings. So sometimes emotions can overwhelm us. We don't know what to do and we don't understand, right? Like we don't understand what they're going through. We don't know what to do. We may not even understand why this is happening to us. So usually what we want to do is we want to maintain a balance here where we're able to understand that everybody has their own emotion and they have their own way of navigating those emotions. And sometimes we might be the ones that are either stopping us from feeling what they're feeling, right? From us really creating the safe space for them to talk into. And ultimately, it may come across that we're passing judgment, right? Because the opposite of compassion and empathy is judgment. So if you're struggling with being compassionate with them, you need to take a look at, like, am I judging their circumstance? And how do I improve that, right? So if you have a high score here, ultimately, you are naturally empathetic, right? You're able to allow your clients to express their emotions without judgment, right? And the coaching application here is going to be that we could use the same perspectives, you know, on how we use our intuition, how we use our gut to get our coaching questions, we're also going to be able to do that as a way to approach the individual needs of our clients. And again, this is going to this goes along with maintaining our presence, right? The more presence we are, the more we can feel what they're saying, the more empathetic and the more compassionate we're going to be, right? But if we're thinking about what question or like what we're going to have for lunch, we're never going to catch their emotions on that, right? So the coaching application with this one is going to be a high sense of social responsible standards and being a contribution to our client, to society, right? If you look at our code of ethics and the content, you'll see that there's specific language in there that talks about that we are going to be a help to society, that we're a benefit to society, and that we're not a negative to society, right? So if we talk about and think about like that means the people that surround you. So the people in your life, your neighborhood, your community, your city, your state, your region, like that's up to you on how you want to be a contribution. Like Julie, you're a great contribution to your church. That's you contributing to your community, right? So we also have, part of the coaching application there is that we have a high sense of empathy and compassion for people. And we're also upholding the ICF Code of Ethics, right? The next one is problem solving. So problem solving here, a low score means that we might struggle with integrating our emotional insights into our problem solving process, right? So our emotions can cloud our judgment here. So basically, if we allow our emotions to overpower what we're trying to accomplish, overpower our thinking or our actions, then we're really in a bind, right? And if we do that in our life, then we can do that in our coaching sessions. And ultimately, we can really, it allows us to not be as supportive with our client, right? So we're going to find that we're really going to have a challenge helping them guide the clients, right? We might not be able to ask that next question like we want to. We may not be able to provide the insight or have them see, get to an awareness. We may not be able to reflect back what they're saying in a way that will support them in really getting that aha moment that they're looking for. A higher score here means that we use our emotional information to benefit us, right? That it helps facilitate problem solving for ourselves in our life, but also for our clients. So we want to be able, when we access this emotional information along with problem solving, we're going to, like I said, evoke those awarenesses. We're going to incorporate emotional awareness in the decision-making process, right? There's nothing worse than somebody making a decision and then not thinking about the repercussions. Some of my biggest, most challenging coaching has been in my personal life around supporting somebody making a decision, right? Me staying non-biased, but also having that emotional component come in, right? Of like what that could possibly mean for them and adding that to the problem solving, right? Have you guys ever experienced that where you're trying to coach somebody in that and you could see it as clear as day and they cannot even see past their own emotions, right? So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about that in our own lives. We're talking about that with our clients, right? And again, one of the big things here with that, and you may not even have an awareness that you're doing it. So you're taking what they're saying and you're reflecting that back to them. And then from there, and then you're asking questions. Well, what if, right? And getting them to that source of like, oh, this is what I want to do, right? So then the other part of this too is reality testing and objective analysis. So a lower score here is going to indicate, as a coach, potentially you have a hard time staying objective. And it's really difficult sometimes to stay objective. And it's really, this is a real good indication of us being able to recognize, like, yeah, I don't stay objective there. Right? Like, this is something that I really need to work on. So if you get a low score here, you know, you may think that you're pretty objective in a situation, and then you might look back on it and be like, yeah, I really wasn't. That wasn't my best moment. I was really jaded. I was really like influenced by my emotions on that, right? A higher score there means that you're realistic, right? That you can help your clients see things really clearly. And the reality testing here also provides our clients with a clear, unbiased viewpoint. So that's why, like, part of the homework here is like, look at an area where you know that you can, you know, be biased, that you have a bias in, and look and see how that impacts. How does that impacts your life? How does that impact the different areas of coaching? And one of the things here that is really something for us to take a look at is this impulse control and thoughtful responsiveness. So a low score here might indicate that you're impulsive. Instead of taking careful consideration, you're impulsive. You let your emotions run you, right? Like, I'll tell you, one of the areas that I never realized, I realized I was impulsive, but I didn't really realize why I was impulsive until I started thinking about this, is, have you ever just gone and bought something and you're just like, I want it, I'm just going to do it? For me, when I am highly emotional, like, I will tell you, when I found out I was metastatic, the number one thing that I was coveting, and I know I was a pair of Valentino shoes. And the day I heard those words of, okay, Laura, you got a problem, do you know that I went and I bought those shoes, and it was something that I was like, I'm just doing it. And I did it. And it was super impulsive, and it was like an emotional based decision. I don't regret it. However, I knew it was really impulsive, and it's not my standard way of being. Right? So sometimes your emotions are going to get you to be really impulsive in a decision, and then you might regret it. So one of the things that we're looking here for, if you have a higher score here, you have a tendency to think before you act, right? And we all have a different area where we're more impulsive than others, right? But your responses, if you have a higher score here, are going to be more measured, and they're going to be more appropriate. So the coaching application here is that we're able to maintain presence that allows the coach to remain focused and composed, and will provide the client a stable coaching environment. It also will enhance how we read and how we respond to things as well. So this can be like, you know, giving more space to our client, right? And I promise you, we're almost done. The next one is flexibility and adaptive coaching. So flexibility, we already talked about, right? We know that we can't be resistant. Well, we don't want to be resistant to change. We don't want to be resistant to information. If we are, we're going to get a lower score. So if we have a lower score, you will find that you're going to have resistance. The higher score here means that we're more flexible. We're able to roll with the punches. We're able to go with the flow. We're more open to new ideas, right? And so, and if it's a new idea for the client, then if we're not open to a new idea for the client, then we're not going to actually be able to help them, because we're going to give them limits, and we're not even going to recognize that we're doing it, right? So we're able, if we are open, then we're able to maintain the alignment, maintain the agreement the client has made, and we're able to create with them and foster a growth environment with them. So then when we talk about stress tolerance and resilience in coaching, This is having strong coping strategies to help us with our stress, to help us provide a calm environment with our clients, right? The other is going to be optimism and coaching for positive change. So if we have a positive outlook, we're going to inspire our clients to also have the same. So the one thing here too, positivity doesn't necessarily mean high energy. Positivity means positive energy. So we want to make sure that we have a positive outlook, that we believe in our client, that that they can do what they say they're going to do. And we want to make sure that the decisions are going to work for them. And then also there's a happiness score here. So a lot of times what we want to do is we want to score at a high level here, or at least in the middle road. Like if you're finding that you're at a low score here in this happiness range, which is the happiness score you're going to see takes up all of this and gives you a score of like where you are in life, right? If this score is really low, then it really shows that you're not really satisfied, or you might be overly negative, right? And I mean us, and then our clients too, right? So if we're not positive, if we don't have that zest for life, then it's going to be hard for us to see certain things and see certain goals that we might want to accomplish, right? We may not be able to help our clients achieve that. If we're not happy ourselves and we're not going and moving towards goals, it's going to be really hard for us to go and do that for our clients. So when we look at the subscales, we're going to get really targeted as to where we need to improve upon. And we're going to really recognize in ourselves where we need to influx some positivity in our life in order for us to become more happy. So the more positive you are, the more happiness you have in your life, the more you're going to attract people towards you. So if you have a client that they're like, I don't have any friends, I can't get a boyfriend, there's nobody here around me. This is the number one thing for you to work with them on, is measure their positivity and have them become more positive. The more positive you are, the more things will come your way. It's the law of attraction, right? So the other thing too that I want you to remember here is that when we talk about the ICF core competencies, the ICF code of ethics, right? The more empowered we are, the more we'll be living into these core competencies and being ethical, the more we're going to be able to empower our clients. Okay. So I know that was a lot of information at once. Let me stop this share right here. Okay. You guys still with me? I tried to just give you tidbits on all of them, but we had to go through these in order for me to share with you an example of a assessment. But do you have any questions before I do that? Anything come up for you in that?
You're on mute, Julie.
Well, thank you for that.
Is what you just shared with us on the UpCoach platform?
It is. It's chapter 5. All of that information is on there.
Right, right, right. So, yeah, it's very in depth. It's very granular
Yes.
in
Yes.
terms of what we aspire to. I think I said this actually the last class, like it's sort of like so specific that I do have the thought that that it might be communicated better, like broader, but at the same time, I know that with studying it and discussing it and practicing, it will click at some point.
So I'm going to show you a graph right now, right? This schematic that for me, I was like, oh, I get it now, right? Because it's a lot of information. So hold tight for 2 seconds. Let me share this with you. Okay. So I'm going to share the screen. When I saw this, I was like, I get it. Here it is. Okay. So this is the cover. We're going to go through. This is what, there you go. Perfect.
But as you were reading through it, I was looking at my results. So it was making sense because then it's like you're explaining to it as I'm reading my test score. So I'm like, oh, okay.
That was real smart. Yeah, so Cheryl is going to deep dive in all of that with you. But here is what we just went over, right? So these are all the 5 major scales, and then here's the subsets, right? So if you look at what self-regard means, respecting oneself while understanding and accepting one's strengths and weaknesses, right? So then you're going to get a score here of self-perception and what that means. And you're going to also get one for self-expression, interpersonal, decision-making, stress management, with all the subscales under them. And this is going to give you your emotional intelligence score. Right?
Oh, do you have one score that you get? I
You
haven't
can
gotten
get
that.
multiple scores. I'm going to show you right now, but there's an overall score. And so what the overall score is, oh, sorry, there's a delay here. So this person has an overall score of 115.
Oh, that's
So
good.
the higher the number, the higher your EQ, right? So then it breaks it down into every single scale and sub scale. So it's going to take so if you quickly even just visually look, I'm going to see like, okay, well, assertiveness is really low. And I know this person. So I could tell you, oh yeah, that makes sense. Right? So the ability to communicate feelings, belief, being open about what they think is on the lower side. They're more reserved, right? And if you met this person, you'd be like, oh yeah, I could see that. So then you'll also see decision making, right? Impulse control, right? Is on the lower side. Problem solving on the lower side. Stress tolerance, coping with stressful situations, right? So when you take a look at that, if you see that, problem solving is on the lower side, okay, well, what can I do to problem solve? Right? And then you could go through and set up different scenarios or different ways on how you can improve your problem solving. So like if you look at self-regard, right? Willingness to admit mistakes, right? High level of respect where they are, right? They're in the higher range. So then it goes and breaks down for you what this all means. So then self-actualization, right? What that means, pursuit of meaning, right? So it'll then give you a breakdown of that. Here's emotional self-awareness, right? They're pretty self-aware, they're in the high range. And then it'll give you the emotional implications, the social behavioral implications, right? And then emotional expression. So comfortable expressing most, if not all, emotions through words and facial expressions. And then it's also assertiveness. So this is on the lower side. Some of the areas that may apply, you either back down or become slightly aggressive in times, right? And then independence. They're self-directed, free from emotional dependency. And then the one I want to really look at with you guys is then they take all of this and hold on, it's coming. Problem solving. There's a delay because I'm projecting it. I'm sharing it. So give me a second. So impulse control, flexibility, right? Everything we just talked about, stress tolerance. optimism, how how positive, how optimistic they are. And then here's your happiness. So this includes satisfaction, contentment, ability to enjoy aspects of life, right? So then it'll say you almost always maintain a happy disposition in all aspects of your life. And then it breaks it down: self-regard, optimism, interpersonal relationships, self-actualization, and how they feed into happiness. So then you can then take part of what our homework is right, take one of the areas that you may not have scored as well in and write down a SMART goal from it on how you can improve on, right? And then the second one here is personal development goals and what that plan is going to look like. Any questions around that? But do you see how this is beneficial?
Did we see the overall score? I don't remember.
Yep, sorry, give me 2 seconds. Okay, the overall score in that is going to be, her total score is 115. And so if the higher you are, then the higher you're able to be empathetic, be compassionate, be self-aware. And so as a coach,
Yeah, that's a good score.
that really supports. The one thing that so when I was taking this, and this is like a proud moment for me, right? When I was taking this, I literally had so much going on. I was undergoing cancer treatment. My dad had passed away. I was selling my mom's home. I sold our home. I had to move 2 houses. I had to plan a funeral. I had to just maintain my mom, right? Any one of those, it's debilitating. And I still was able, my score still came back really strong. And so for me, it was one of those like proud moments
I
of
bet.
recognizing all the hard work that we do for being able to be with clients, like really paid off. And it was
That's
something that
awesome.
if I didn't take this assessment, I wouldn't have thought anything of it. I was just going through the motions every day, right? Like I'm like, I gotta get this done, I gotta get that, right? And so that's what I want you guys to, when you go over these, like also recognize yourself and be proud of like, oh, I'm really glad that like this is my score on that. Because like you've done the work in order to do that, to get those scores. Like that's not something that happened by accident. So we have a couple minutes left. I'd love to hear from you guys. How was this for you? What's your biggest takeaway?
How was this class, or how was taking the test?
Whatever you'd like to share.
Hmm. I don't know what my overall score is. Like I said, I just was able to sort of skim it. I saw, you know, a lot of high range and mid range. So I'm so glad I have things to work on.
Yay. Maria, anything stand out to you as far as the assessment or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, it was good for like the breakdown because I had seen this last night. I kind of skimmed through it a little bit, and yeah, I got a good like a good score, and then it's like I'm curious to see what Coach Cheryl's going to say to me on the one-on-one because it's all within the same number ranges on a lot of stuff, except for maybe like one part of stress management, but but that's
Yeah.
my life, right? Like it's always like on high stress. But
Yeah.
then it's like I've worked so hard, right? Like I have a bachelor's in psychology
Yeah.
and I've done the coaching and I've become a doula where really becoming the doula has asserted the emotional intelligence part of it because I'm holding such sacred regard on that one space, right? Like people are so vulnerable. So it also makes me proud that I've put in the work to being a little bit more emotionally aware to other people.
Yeah.
Where maybe if I would have taken this assessment, let's say a year and a half ago, it probably would not have been so high.
Yeah. So that's awesome. That's a great awareness too, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, 'cause we tend, I feel like just human nature, right? We tend to be selfish at times, or just, I deal with high risk pregnancies and miscarriages and NICU babies. And sometimes, I would like to tell somebody, listen, just because you are a geriatric age, just because you hit the smart number of like over 35 does not mean you're really high risk. Like, there's other complications, like focus on your other complications. They can't say that, right? So that's where it taught me to like kind of, okay, let's get over the age and let's focus on like your diabetes, like that's a real problem. And like guiding them through that.
Something you can do something about, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, the age is the age. I mean, I'm almost 40, and I just had two in my between after 35, and it's like, yeah, they're high risk pregnancies, but they've always all my pregnancies have been high risk from the age of 24 till now, and people get so hung up by that, and in my head I'm like, but you have like an actual problem that you need to focus on.
yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, as much as I would want to shake them, I got to realize that not everyone is as hard as I am, right, in my thinking, just because of life. Everybody's raised different and taught different. And so then that really taught me to be a little bit more emotionally aware to the other person.
Yeah.
And like you, Lori, too, I have a mom that's very complicated too. So it's definitely helped me in that.
Woo. Yeah, I mean, I got to tell you, like some of my best coaching is with my mother.
Yeah. I told her once, I was like, can I use you as a coaching session? She's like, but I don't know so much English. I was like, it's okay, let's just do it in Spanish and just let's see what happens.
And it's been a wild ride, but yeah. Yeah, I get it. But and the one thing too that I want to leave you guys with is it's really easy to go negative.
Yes.
It's harder to stay positive. So and I often think about this as even just like society itself, right? Everybody just goes negative. So when you see your scores and you see that you have that, optimism at a really high level, like that's something to really be proud of. For sure. Well, that's class today. I'm happy to stay on if anybody has any
Thank you
questions.
so much.
Otherwise, we're going to see each other on Thursday and it's not going to be as heavy. So bring any questions you have.
Oh, it was fine, and you did great. And I just want to say all the best to your mom, who is no doubt quite bereft.
Yeah. Yeah. She she surprised me because I wasn't thinking of it this way. But like we sold her house on Friday and like hasn't been living there for quite some time, but
Hmm.
the finality of it, which I thought she would be happy with, because she was like, I want to get rid of it. I want to get rid of it. I want to get rid of it. It's such a stressor for me, right?
Get rid of what?
And her home, right? Like she owned
Oh,
a home, and that before my dad passed, I had moved them close to me because I was his caregiver. So one of the things that I didn't expect is when we actually signed the papers, everything is said and done, she actually had the hardest day I've ever seen. And like she wasn't able to communicate it. So then I kind of let her be. And like the next day I was like, okay, talk to me about what was happening. And she's like, what made it hard was that 3 years ago we moved, like they moved from Connecticut to Florida because we were here. And she's like, 3 years ago, your dad and I moved there and he was so excited. She's like, and now 3 years later, there goes the house and he's not here either. And like, it wasn't even on my radar that that's how she would thought of it, because she was so before that moment, she was pushing so hard to be like, get rid of it, get rid of it, get rid of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's one of those things I was like, okay. There was my blind spot in the whole thing. So
Good. So good she has you to ask her those great questions.
Brian, sometimes it's hard. It's hard. It's hard because I'm the parent, right? But
Yeah.
it's an honor too to be able to do it. It's a lot of work, but it is what it is.
Yep.
Anyways, thank you for that. I appreciate that.
We'll see you guys on Thursday.
Thursday.
Yes, see you on Thursday.
All
Okay.
right. Thank you for a great
Thank
class.
you. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.